Hello students, today we are going to start a very important and good chapter on Introduction to Python. So let's begin. But before we dive into Python, let us try to understand what are this computer language. Like Python is one of the computer language, right? So what do you understand by computer language? Now see, the language that we speak, computer doesn't understand that, right? Computer has its own language. So whenever we have to give any instructions to computer, we have to give them in a language which is understood by computer. So that is called a computer language. So computer language is used to give instruction. Computer language is used to give instruction to the computer to perform a particular task. And the sequence of instructions written using a computer language. So the sequence, the steps of the instructions that we write using a computer language, that forms a computer program. So computer language is what? It is we use computer language to give instructions to a computer to perform any task, right? And the steps that we write using a computer language, or the instructions that we write using a computer language, that forms our computer program. Clear? Now a computer language can be classified into three broad categories. Three categories are there for computer language. Okay, so what are they? So first we have machine language. So we can have three types of computer language. Okay, so one is machine language, another is assembly language, and the last is a high level language which we generally use. Now let's try to understand each of this one by one. Clear? So first we begin with machine language. Now what is machine language? Now what is machine language? See, a computer is an electronic device. We all know that, right? So it can only understand the language of zeros and ones. Zeros and ones are the language which computer basically understands. But we cannot write programs using zeros and ones. It will be so tough for us, right? But program that is written in the form of zeros and ones, they are called machine language. Okay, so in machine language, the instructions are given in the form of strings of zeros and ones. Okay, now this language is also known as binary language or machine language, which we already know, right? And it is extremely difficult to write program in this machine language. You can understand, right? Of course, it will be very difficult to write a program in the form of strings of zeros and one, correct? So machine level language is what? In this language we give instruction in the form of strings of zeros and ones. Clear? Now let's move on to assembly level language. Now what is assembly language? Okay. Now we see machine language where we use zeros and ones, right? In assembly language we use certain instructions are given in the form of some sort words. These are called mnemonics. Okay, like instead of zeros and one, we write, like if suppose I have to add two numbers, so I write add a plus b or whatever. There is certain format in which we write this assembly language. Okay, like add a byte. This means add a to byte, put result in a. Add c a comma byte. This means add with carry c. This extra c denotes a carry here. Okay, now sub a, this sub sub sub, and then you have a b here. B stands for borrow. That means subtract with borrow. INC a means increment a. INC byte means increment byte in memory. Okay, so in assembly language, see, because machine language was so tough for anyone to write a program in zeros and ones, so they developed another language called assembly language, which is simpler than your machine language, but this is also very tough to write program in assembly language as well. Okay, so here they have introduced short words called mnemonics, which we use to write or give instructions to the program, to the computer, sorry. Okay, so here there are few examples here. I can repeat again. So add a byte means add a to byte and put the result in a. Then add, there is an extra C, A, then byte means add with carry. SUB, B and the extra B, that means subtract with borrow. INCA means you increment A, means by 1. Increment byte, that means increment byte in memory. Okay, so this language was a little simpler than your machine language, but this is also a tough language to write a program in, right? And then there were certain disadvantages of both this machine language and assembly language. What was the disadvantage? First of all, you know, it is very tough to write program in both this language. It's not easier, right? And then this writing program in this languages, machine and assembly, you require the knowledge of the hardware, the underlying hardware of your computer. You require knowledge of that. Okay, so one first advantage, it's difficult to write program in both the languages. Then you require knowledge of the underlying hardware. And the third, both the programs written in these languages are machine dependent. They are machine dependent. Means if you write program in one machine, you cannot run that in another machine. That means they are not portable. Portable means you can, the programs written in one computer can be run in another computer, right? That means that they are portable. But not portable means if you write a program in one machine, that may not run on the other. Okay, so they are not portable. So what are the disadvantages of machine and assembly level language? First, they are tough to write. They are not easier, right? Second, they require, this is the second point, they require the knowledge of underlying hardware. You require the knowledge of underlying hardware. Okay. Then third is they are machine dependent and hence they are not portable. So this is a third one. They are machine dependent, means one program written in one machine may not run in another machine. They are not portable. They are machine dependent. Clear now? I hope both machine language and assembly language is clear. Now we'll move on to high level. Now let's move on to high level language. Now here we have seen the machine language and the assembly language are very tough for us to understand and write, right? So in high level language, programs are written using English words and mathematical symbols, which are easier for us to understand. Okay, so in high level language, we write programs using English words and mathematical symbols, which are very easy for us to understand and write down. But so what are the so here we do not require, like, which the disadvantage that we had in machine and assembly was that we require the knowledge of hardware, the underlying hardware. But here you do not require the knowledge of underlying hardware to write these programs in high level language. Okay, and they are machine independent also and portable. That means, what does this mean? As I said, in your high level and assembly, they are not machine independent, right? Here program written in one machine might not run in another, but high level language program written in one machine can be run in another machine, can easily run in other machines. So they are machine independent and portable. Portable means from one machine to another you can run it, right? Thus it is very easy for programmers to learn and develop programs in high level language. Clear? But this high level language is not directly understood by the computers. Computers can understand because it's an electronic device, so they understand zeros and ones only, right? They do not understand anything written in English or in mathematical symbols, right? But in high level we use English words and mathematical symbols, right? So So the programs that we write in high level language, for computer to understand, we have to translate them. We have to translate this high level language programs into their equivalent machine language form. And for this translation, we require compilers or interpreters. So what are compilers and interpreters? They are the translator which converts, they are the translators which converts high level language programs into corresponding machine language. So compilers and interpreters are the translator basically. So they convert whatever program we write in using English words and mathematical symbols in high level language to their machine language is done by compilers and interpreters. I hope it's clear now what is compiler, what is interpreter. So they are basically the translator which translates our high level language to computer or machine language. Clear? Now some of the examples of high level language programs are Python that we'll be doing, correct? Then you have another basic. I think some of you must have done basic before in your lower classes. Then you have Fortran, Pascal, C, C++, Java, Prolog and LSP. So there are many high level languages that we use, but now we are going to understand more on Python. Okay, so and remember one thing, students, like the way we have different languages now, Hindi, English, Marathi, Punjabi, right? We have so many different languages, but each language has their own set of characters and grammar rules, right? And pronunciation, like in Hindi we pronounce something different, then in English we have a different pronunciation, we have a different grammar rules and characters for all those, right? Similarly, these different programming languages, okay, these different programming languages also differ from each other in their grammar rules, and that is called syntax. So each programming language has their own way of writing, their own syntax. Okay, like in English we have a certain way of writing something. In Hindi it's a different way of writing the same thing, correct? So in the same way, different programming language also differ with each other in their grammar rules, which is called syntax. So we have different syntax for different programming languages. Clear? So basically we can say programs that we write is equal to algorithm plus syntax. So you have learned in my previous video what is an algorithm. It's a step-by-step instructions that we have, right? So to make that algorithm, that steps into a program, we have to use the syntax. Like I have to input two numbers, okay, to add them. So this in an algorithm I'll write to input two numbers A and B, right? But how to write in a program form? I have to write this input A and B in the form of a syntax for that program. Then it becomes a program. So basically programming is what? Algorithm plus syntax. Clear? Good. Okay, students, so now I think you're clear with the three types of programming computer languages that we have. Machine language, which uses zeros and ones. Then we have assembly language, where we use short words called mnemonics, such as move, add, ld, right? Then we have high level language, which we use for writing programs, right? So they use our English words and mathematical symbols. But for high level language, to make computer understand, we have to translate this language to a equivalent machine language. So that has been done using compilers and interpreters. Okay, we have different programming languages or the high level languages, and each high level language or programming language differ from each other in their grammar rules, which is called syntax. And programming is equal to your algorithm plus the syntax. That becomes our computer program. Okay, now let's move on to Python. Now Python is one of the most powerful and popular high level language, okay, that is being used these days. Okay, So they are being used, we use Python in web development, gaming, scientific and numeric computing. Okay, so let's try to understand some of the features of Python that we have. It is easy to learn, okay, because here we use simple structures and there are very fewer keywords. We have fewer keywords and very simple structures for giving the instruction. So it's Python is very easy to learn. It's not tough. Then it is free and open source. Like you can download Python freely from anywhere. You don't have, there's no charge involved with downloading Python. You can have it free on the internet itself. Okay. Then it is portable. Portable, you have already understood before also. Portable means it is not machine dependent. It is machine independent, right? That means the programs, the Python program written in one machine can be executed or run in another machine also. Their hardware, they're not dependent on your hardwares, right? So a Python program which you write on a Windows operating system can be executed on a computer with a Mac or a Linux operating system. Okay, so they are not dependent on your on the machine, right? So they are portable. Then you have extensive library support for Python. What does this mean? So you have many built-in features and built-in libraries for Python. In Python, we have a lot of built-in libraries which we can use to write our programs easily. Clear? So what are the different features of Python reader? It is easy to learn because there are very simple structures and very few keywords that we use. It is free and open source. No charge involved. You can easily download for free Python from the internet. Then it is portable. That is, it is machine independent. So Python program written in one computer can be easily run in another computer. Like for example, you have written a Python program in a computer with a Windows operating system. You can run that program in any other computer, maybe on a Mac, Apple's Mac, or on a Linux operating system also. So it's portable. Then you have extensive library support in Python. That means you have number of built-in libraries which you can easily use while writing your programs. Clear? Now some of the examples here just to show you, it's given in your book just to show how powerful the Python is, where nowadays we are using Python. Like you see in YouTube we have this video sharing service, right? So that is written largely in Python. Then Google, where you do most of the search, right? So Google makes extensive use of Python. Even in Google, we have Python programming. Then NASA uses Python for scientific programming tasks. So you can understand by this examples how powerful Python is, right? We are using Python in all of this, right? Clear? I hope now Python, our overview is clear and what are the features and where these days we are using just to show how powerful Python is. Okay, so now let's try to install Python and start using Python. Now how do we see, before I told you, right, for any programming language, right, whenever a high level language, when you are writing a program, you need an interpreter or a compiler to convert or translate our computer programs written in high level language to corresponding machine language for computers to understand, right? So we need an interpreter for any of the programming language that we use, right? So for Python also we need that, right? So let's try to install Python. Okay, so you need to go to this path that is already mentioned here, python.org downloads.windows. It's for Windows. If you have any other OS, you can go accordingly, right? So I've already opened this for you. So it's here. You just need to go and download for Windows Python here. Click on this. When you click, you will get the exe file. You run it and I already have the Python installed, so I'm not doing this again. So this is the latest version, you can see 3.1, 3.5. So install Python from here. So once you install, after you have installed the Python, go to your run menu. Here just type IDLE and then you will have Python coming up with that version here mentioned. Okay, so just click open. Okay, now there are two ways we can open Python. Okay, one is a cell mode, which is the one that you can see here. So this is the cell mode. You will have a version written here at the top left corner, right? 3.1, 3.5, that's my Python version. And here you will have, so this mode is called the interactive mode. Okay, this mode, so we have two modes, interactive mode and the script mode, to use Python. So this mode, which you can see with the version written here, and you have a prompt here being given, so this is called a interactive mode. So basically this is a cell window opens, right? Okay, so we can write, so this is the prompt that has been given. This is the complete cell window, SHELL cell window with the version mentioned. You have a prompt and you can write any of your commands here. Okay, so if I want to write, maybe I want to print, okay, print how are you, how are you. So I can just print, put an enter, you see it prints here the output, how are you. Okay, so this is called the interactive mode. So one line command you can write here. As soon as you write one line command, it will give you the result whatever be there. Okay, so it's like one-to-one interactive. Okay, like one-to-one. Okay, so this is called the interactive mode. So this is good only for very short pieces of code, and you cannot save your code here also. We cannot save, like I wrote this, if I want to save it so that I can use it again, I cannot save it in interactive mode. Okay, interactive mode, you cannot save your code that you have written. Clear? For that we use script. So how do you use the script mode? Go to file, click new file. So here this is your script mode that has opened. Now here if I write something, suppose I want to know print, this is my first Python program in script mode. Okay, now you have to, I can save this. Okay, as a, like here I told you in interactive mode we cannot save, but here we can save. So just go to file, save as you do it. Wherever you want to save, you can just click on that, write the name, my first Python. Okay, then save it. I saved it. Now I have to run it. Click on run module. So here see, in this cell or in the cell mode or the interactive mode, you will have this run and you will have it printed. This is my first Python program in script, and this is saved also, right? You can open it later also. Clear? So now you're clear with your difference between your interactive mode and script mode. Okay, so opening I explained you interactive. So we have these two modes as I told you. So one is the interactive mode where the Python cell window opens and you have a prompt, right? You have a Python prompt which is 3 greater than sign. Okay, and you have a Python version on the top. Okay, okay, so you can write anything in this, like suppose this in here you can just write, if you want to add something, 7 plus 8, this is the interactive mode, it will give you the result. Okay, so whatever you want in the interactive mode we can do that, okay, directly. And in script mode you can write your program and save it also. Clear? So this is a script interactive mode that you have seen. Then we have, so see, I told you the interactive mode is good for trying short pieces of code because you cannot save it, right? It cannot be saved for further use. Hence, when you have to reuse this, you have to retype all the statements to rerun, right? So it is not suitable for a bigger pieces of code, right? Because you cannot save it. Now, in the script mode, now we come to the script mode. So in script mode, you can open from file, new file you go, and you will have it open in a script format, and here you can write your program, right? Whatever program you want, and then you can save it as I showed you, and then you can run it from the run module. So in your shell window it will execute this. Correct? Clear till here? Now we'll move on to the keywords in Python. Okay, Now let's start with keywords. Okay, now what do you understand by keywords in Python? Okay, now what are keywords? Keywords are basically some reserved words for that particular programming language. Okay, and that you cannot use for any other purpose. It's only there are certain words in any programming language, not only in Python, which are reserved for that language to be used, and each word has a special meaning for an interpreter when they are translating your program, right? So like see here, you will see the complete list of some of the keywords in Python that we use, like false, none, true, and like see in the next chapter, I think the conditional statements in Python, you will learn about all these and statements, if, else. Okay, so these are all what? These are certain keywords in Python. You cannot use these words in your program randomly as a variable or anything. Okay, so these keywords are reserved words and they are defined for a specific purpose and convey a special meaning to the Python interpreter. So when interpreter is translating your computer program, these words that you see here in the table, they have certain specific purpose, and they convey some meaning, special meaning to the interpreter. Okay, so these are the keywords, and you cannot use this keyword as an identifier or as an identifier in your, or using as a variable in your program. You cannot do that. So what are keywords? Keywords are reserved words. They are defined for a specific purpose and convey a special meaning to the Python interpreter when they are translating our computer program. Clear? So here you have the list of some of the keywords. Clear? Okay, now let's move on to identifiers. What are identifiers? Okay, what are identifiers? So identifiers are what is an identifier? It is a name given by a programmer. Like when we are writing our programs, we use certain variables. Okay, you will understand more about variables in next chapters. Okay, so we use, or maybe after this only I'll come to this topic of variable. Okay, so identifiers are the name given to the variables by the computer programmers. Okay, or to any of our, not only to the variables but to the function or any other object in our language. So what is an identifier? It is a name given by the programmer to the variable, function, or any other object in the language. Okay, keywords were what? Keywords were reserved words. The programmer is not giving that word. Okay, those are the reserved words, and those had a special meaning for the interpreter when they are translating, right? But identifiers are the name given by the programmers. Like we give the name, like suppose I want to store, I have input one number from the user. Okay, so I have to store that in some variable, right? In some place I have to store that. So where I store that in a variable A, suppose. So this A is something I as a programmer is giving the name A to my variable where I'm storing a number, right? So identifier is the name given by the programmer to the variable or to the function. I have certain function. This all you will learn in further chapters, or to any other object in the language. So they are not the reserved keywords. They are the ones that is given by us. So when we are writing the program and we specify the identifier, we have to follow certain rules. We cannot give identifiers whatever we want. Very basic is like, see, we cannot use these keywords as our identifier, because these keywords are the reserved words. They are for the programs and the interpreters. We cannot use them for our purpose, for assigning any variable or a function name. So the first rule is keywords cannot be used as identifiers. Clear? So when you are defining identifier, I cannot use keyword for that. Now second, identifiers can be a combination of letters in lowercase, uppercase, digits, or an underscore. So only these 4 types of characters or values you can say is allowed, which is lowercase a to z, uppercase a to z, and digits 0 to 9, and an underscore is allowed in Python. Okay, Now, an identifier cannot start with a digit. You cannot start your identifier with a digit. For example, if you write one variable, this is a wrong. Why? Because it is starting with a digit. You can have variable 1, that is allowed. But you cannot have one variable. You cannot start your identifier with a digit. Okay. Now the fourth is Python does not allow punctuation characters. You cannot use punctuation characters in your identifier. We can only use underscore, not any of this at the rate, dollar, percentage or any other punctuation. And Python is very much case sensitive. Thus marks and marks in capital, and these are two different identifiers because Python is case sensitive. Okay, so you write anything in lowercase, it has to be in lowercase only. If you make it as uppercase, that means this two becomes different. Though the words are same, but since their cases are different, they become different. So because Python is case sensitive. Clear? So are these 5 rules clear? Very simple. We will see with the examples here also. Now see, just see here. This is a valid identifier, ing, because here as per this second rule we are using the lowercase a to z characters and an underscore, so it is allowed. So this is valid identifier. But see here, this is not a valid identifier. Why? Can you identify? Yeah, because as per rule 3 we cannot have an identifier start with a number, so this is wrong. Now see this percentage, this is a valid identifier, all lower cases is there, and this is not a keyword also, correct? So but this marks hyphen EVS, this is wrong. Why? Because this character is not allowed, only underscore is allowed, right? As per this fourth, doesn't allow any other punctuation character except for your underscore. Now bus underscore fare, this is valid identifier, everything fine. But while, is this a valid identifier? This is all lowercase, but is this why valid identifier? No. Why? Because while is one of the keyword. If you see here, while is one of your keywords, so you cannot use a keyword as a identifier, so that's why this is invalid. Clear? Now var1, this is again a valid identifier. You have a character and then a digit, so no problem. But this num space and then you have toys, is this valid? No, you cannot have a space in between, so this is an invalid identifier. Is it clear? I hope the identifiers are clear to all of you. Any doubt? No? Now we'll move on to variables and data type. Now let's move on to variables. What are variables? Variable is also a type of an identifier. Okay, so variables refer to a memory location that holds a value. Okay, now let me give you an example, then make you understand variable. Now suppose here in the script mode I write, I have marks is equal to 45, suppose. Okay, and I write here print marks obtained or maybe I'll make it simple, I'll explain that. Marks. Let me just save it and run this. Now did you see 45 has been printed here? Now see my program, I just wrote, sorry, okay, I wrote marks is equal to 45 and then print marks. Now I am assigning this value 45 to a variable called marks. So marks is called a variable where I am assigning some value, and this value is getting stored in my memory location somewhere, right? So whenever I in my program anywhere I use marks, it will fetch the value 45 from the memory location where marks is stored. Okay, so here marks is my variable. So what is a variable basically? It refers to a memory location that holds a value for me. Okay, clear I hope. So variable holds a value for me. It refers to a memory location. Now see, I have just assigned 45 to this variable, and then when I am trying to access this variable, it will fetch my value 45 from the memory location and print it. Okay, so variable is what? Variable refers to a memory location that holds a value. Okay, and it is very important. In the program we use variables often, and variables are our type of identifier only. Okay, so we have to follow all the rules of the identifier when you are defining your variable. Okay, and in variable, to assign a value to the variable, we use this assignment operator, which is known as this equal to. Okay, so here if you see this is my assignment operator, equal to. Clear? Now let's see the examples here of the variable in your book that is given, like age is equal to 56, marks is equal to this, place is equal to this. Okay, then we are printing age. Okay, so see, we have, this is my variable age and I've assigned a value 56 to this. So when I'm printing age, I'm referring to age, it will refer to 56 and it will print 56. Similarly, you can have print marks, it will print marks, and print place, whatever was stored in place, the variable, it will store that. Clear? So what is a variable? Are you clear? I hope it's clear to you. Variable is basically for storing any value. Okay, and it refers to a memory location that holds a value. So variable refers to a memory location that holds a value. Clear? Variable, this is very important. We'll be using lot of variables when you start writing your programs in Python. Okay, let me just give you a simple example in Python. Like suppose I have to add two numbers. Okay. Now suppose I have to add two numbers here. Okay, so I'll enter one number. Maybe I'll just write a is equal to 45, b is equal to, these are my variables, right? B is equal to my 87 maybe, and I want to print a plus b. So I'll write here print a plus b. Now see, a and b both are my variable where I've assigned values, and I'll print a plus b. I'll just save it. Now when I run it, see, it printed 132, the sum of 87 and 45, right? Now similarly, I can have another variable where I can write c is equal to a plus b, and I can print, instead of writing a plus b here, I can just write print c. So this will also serve the same purpose, right? I have three variables defined here. One is a, another is b, another is c. So a have a constant value which is 45, b also have a constant value which is 87, and c will have a value depending on a and b. So c will have a plus b, whatever be the value, and that I'm finally printing here. So if I save it and I run it, the output will be the same, 132. Clear? So here we have three variables being defined. I hope variables are now very clear, and variables are also the identifiers. Okay, so a, b, c are my three identifiers, and this equal to sign is known as the assignment operator. It is known as assignment operator, this one. Clear? Now we'll move on to data types. Okay, students, now let's try to understand what is data type. See, students, try to understand all these things very nicely. These are very basic things like keywords, identifiers, variables, data types. It has been used for any other programming language, not only Python. These are very basics of any programming language. So be very clear with all this. Okay. Now let's try to understand what is a data type. Okay. Now when you are assigning a value to a variable, okay, the values can be of different types, right? It can be a number, it can be a characters also that you assign to a variable, right? So based on what you are assigning to a variable, that defines its data type. Like here in this example, if you see, age is equal to 56. Here without any decimal, we just have a normal positive integer. So this kind of data type is called an int data type. Int, it's a number data type. We call it as number data type, where we assign numbers, but numbers can be of two types, which is int and float. Integer or floating. Integer means without any decimal point, it can be a positive integer or a negative integer, but without a decimal point. So that is int. Okay, another is float, which is floating, where you have a decimal number being assigned to a variable. It can be either positive or it can be a negative. Clear? Now see here, A is your variable, B is your variable. Like see, here in A you are assigning a positive integer, here in B you are assigning a negative integer. So this is of int data type. What is the data type of this? Two variable A and B, it is integer, int. Now here if you see float, if you see C and D, you have C is equal to 9.7, D is equal to minus 88.9. So both are having a decimal point, so they are called float data type. Clear? Now here if I see here, this both are what kind of data type these are? Correct, integer data type, right? Because I just have a positive integer assigned. But if I had B is equal to 87.7, then my B becomes floating data type. Correct? Because I have a decimal assigned to it. Okay, and it can be positive or negative also, right? I can have here like, Acha, tell me, if I have A as 45, B as 87.7, what will be the data type of C? C is A plus B. So what will be the data type of C? Just think. It will be floating. Correct. Why? Because when you sum this two, you get the result, which is C, in decimal, right? So that's why it will be floating. C will be my floating. Clear? So I hope your integer data type and your floating data type is clear. Quickly, let's try to understand this variable here that has been given. So you have a statement num underscore car. You have this variable name num underscore car, that is equal to 3. So here variable name is your this, value is your 3, and your data type is integer, right? Int, correct? Here apples is equal to 2.5. Apples is your variable name, correct? Value is your 2.5. And what kind of data type it is? Since it's a decimal here, so it becomes float. Very good. Now weight is equal to 4.2. So weight is my variable name. 4.2 is my value. And this is again a floating data type because you have a decimal point here. Clear? I hope this number data type, which includes int and float, is clear. We'll now try to understand the string data type, but before that, just go over this line, which is very important. Python was developed by Guido van Rossum in 1991 at the National Research Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science in Netherlands. Ever since the language was developed, it is becoming popular amongst the programmers. So it was developed by whom? Guido van Rossum in 1991, where at the National Research Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science in Netherlands. Clear? Now we'll move on to string data type. Okay, now let's try to understand string data type. Now see, we have seen here in this example, age, this is an integer data type. This is a floating data type, correct? Now here in place variable, we have stored India, correct? We have stored India. India is what? It is a set of characters, right? So when you are storing a characters, a sequence of characters to a variable, it becomes string data type. Okay, so in string data type, we store a sequence of characters. Clear? Like suppose your name, Now here name is my variable name Myra. Within double quotes I have given. So see here string you can assign in three ways. You can have double quotes, single quotes or triple quotes. I'll try and explain you the difference between all these three. When it is double quotes, normal it will print with no. You can have single quotes also, that also mean the same thing. Okay, section is your variable and A is your value assigned to that. Now when you have a very big string, very big sequence of characters like here the address or the message which goes to more than one line, which extends over more than one line, then we use this triple quotes. Okay, so any string value where the sequence of characters spans over more than one line, we use this triple quotes. Clear? So I hope these data types are clear to you, the three data types. Very simple. Now let's try to figure out this. Now see here it's written create a variable to store the name of your favorite hobby. So see it's a name of your favorite hobby. That means it will be a string data type, correct? So how will you create? Maybe hobby is equal to, in double quotes you will write, right? So it will be a string data type. Now B, create a variable to store your marks. So you have to just, it can contain decimal. So it will be a floating data type, right? Now create a variable to store the pin code of your area. See now pin code is always an integer value, right? So it will be an int data type. Now create a variable to store the number of students in your class. Number of students will always be a positive integer. So it will be an int data type again. Clear? Now here which of the following is a valid identifier? See, so here you have to follow those rules of the identifier and try and understand which one is wrong. Like see this is wrong, you cannot have an digit in the first. Then this is wrong, you cannot have a dot, you just underscore is allowed. This is correct, class 7, right? So this way you have to accept. Understood? Now let's move on. So students, now since we have understood the data types also, so now let's start with a simple program writing of input and displaying output. How you can enter a value, take input from the user and display that in Python. Okay, so how do we accept input in Python? In one of my program you have already seen, I think no I have not done. So yeah, let's start and see how you can input. Okay, so to input a value or a string from user in Python we use this input function. Okay, and when you are inputting anything you have to store that in one particular variable also, right? So we assign it to a variable. So now suppose I want to enter, now here see I have entered A, I have assigned A and B value, right? But suppose I want to have user give me these values. Okay, so I want the value of A and B, then I sum and then I print. Okay, now I want the value of A from user. So how will I do? I use the function input. Input in bracket within double quotes you have to mention. Okay, see the syntax. Okay, input enter value for A. Okay, now here whatever user input, okay, I have to store that in a variable, right, to use it further, right? Otherwise how do I do that, right? So let me assign a variable name as number underscore A is equal to this. So this is my variable name and this is a function you use to input any value. So here I'm inputting A. Now suppose I want to input B also. So I'll copy the same line. Now suppose I use this another variable which is num B maybe and input enter value for B. Okay, then in C I will sum both these values, and now let me just remove this for timing. Okay, so I want to input these two numbers and I'll then print. Okay, print num underscore A. Okay, and then I'll print num underscore B. Clear? Let me save. Now run and see how it runs. So it is asking me enter value of A. See, whatever I have written within this double quote, whatever you write, that displays here. Okay, so here enter value of A. So I'll enter value maybe 67. Enter value for B. See, whatever I have written inside this will be displayed as it is. So enter value 78. So that it will print both this for me because I have given the statement as print, right? So it has printed, correct? Clear? So how do we input a value from the user? Input enter value for this. Suppose instead of I just write enter, whatever you write this in double quote, it come as it is. I write enter A only. Now save it. Now if you run, it will come as enter A. See, enter A. Enter B. See, enter value of B, because this second statement in the double quotes I wrote this. So whatever you write within the double quote, it will come as it is. Okay. Any value, and then it will print and then stop. Clear? So understood how we input the number. Now see here that you can ask me ki, ma'am, what is the data type for this num A and num B? This input that we are doing, is it an integer or a float or a string? So here in Python, if you don't specify anything, this becomes a string. Clear? So this is a string. If you want to input an integer value, okay, then you have to do it with, you have to specify int before this input. This entire thing will be in quotation. Then this become integer. Similarly with float, suppose you want this as float, so float and this entire input, then this becomes as float. Now let me save, run this again. Enter A was an integer, I can give any integer value. This was float, I can give any value with decimal, correct? So now see, if I run again, now in integer, now since this is an integer, I cannot enter a float value here. Let's see if it allows me. Let me run. Let me try to enter a float value here, maybe 78.6. See, it gives me an error. It will not accept, right? Because I have specified the data type as int. So it will only accept integer, not float. Clear? Okay. So you saw in integer, I cannot specify a floating value, decimal value. But in floating, you can specify integer also. Okay. So in floating, we can have a decimal also. We can have without decimal also, so that won't be a problem. Okay, now let me just run and show you again this. So enter A, I give an integer value. In floating also you can give an integer value, it will accept. It will, but the output will be in point, it will give you in decimal. Okay, but now your question will be, ki ma'am, when you initially wrote this program this way, when you did not specify any data type, you said it will be a string data type, right, by default for Python. Then how come I entered number in string? So in string you can enter a number also, but that number will not be considered as a number. It will be considered as a string only. I'll show you how. Wait, let me just save and show you. Let me just run, or maybe okay, let me show it in this way, it will be clear. Now suppose here I have num underscore c is equal to, I want to do the summation of this num a and num b. Okay, so since you saw I will enter this numbers here, so it should allow me this summation, and then if I want to print c, it should allow me control. Clear? But see what will happen here now. Let me see. Now I have saved it. Now let me run and see what happens. See, it should give me the summation here, but see what it will give. Now, because I told you these are string types. If you don't specify data type, it considered a string in Python. So now let me run. So enter A, suppose 78 I enter. Enter B, it's telling me I enter 34. Now I want the summation which is 78 plus 34. Correct? Who can give me this correct sum? 112, right? If I am not correct, wrong. So yeah, it will be 112. But now see what it will come. See, did you see it will print 78 because print num A I said 78. Print num B, it printed B. Now the third was print num C. Num C was num A plus num B, which should have been 112 if it was number. But they did not consider this as number because it's a string. So what they have done, they have just concatenated these two numbers. They have just combined these two numbers. When you give a plus, so they have just combined these two strings together with a plus. So they have written 78 and 34 together. But now if I put an integer here and take the values, then you see the difference. See, now I have changed the data type to integer. Now when I run, now when I run, see, I give 78 same values, I give 34. Now it will give me 112. Did you see? Now could you understand the difference? When no data type was specified, it took it as string. So it just concatenated these two numbers, means just joined. But when I took this as integer, now they are considering these two as numbers and they are doing a actual summation and they are giving you the value. Now is it clear with how this data types work in float and string and how we are using this in the input statement to accept any input? I hope it should be clear now, right? Clear? You can see all these examples from book also. Okay. Now let's come to displaying output. So we display output in Python using print statement, which you have already seen. I have written couple of times. So this is the statement we use to print output. Okay. So there are different ways of using. Now I can just write print. Here I was just writing the variable names and it was printing. And see, in different lines I wrote this, I can have written this in a single line also with a comma set. Num underscore A comma num underscore B comma num underscore C if I want. So instead of three different lines, I can write in a single line also. Let's see, save and see how it runs. Enter values. See, it will display in a single line with one space in the middle. Okay, so either you can give it in separate lines or you can give in the same line whatever you want to print with a comma sign. Now suppose I want to print like this, key number A is then the value, then I want to print number B is and then the value. Okay, so like this if I want to print, how do I print this? So what you will write, print, then within bracket, now whatever you want to print as it is, okay, like the way in input we write now in double quotes, whatever we want to display on the screen as it is for the user, that should be within double quotes. So this entire thing with double quote and then comma, and then you want to print num underscore A. Okay, now see how will it be printed. Now let me just save and run this. So let me just enter. So see, so if you see here, it has printed number A is. So within this double quote, whatever you write, it print as it is, and then the value, the variable name I have written with a comma, and prints the variable name, the value of the variable. Okay, so here whatever you write, anything, any bakwas, anything you write, you run it, so whatever is there in your double quote will come as it is. Now see, whatever is there inside your double quote will come as it is, and then comma and then a variable name. Clear? So this way we can print or display output. Okay, now let's try to understand this, some of the examples given in your book. So here if I write print within double quotes welcome, so whatever you write within double quotes it print as it is, so output will be welcome. Now here if I write A is equal to 10, print A, so it will print the value of A, 10. A is equal to 5, print within double quotes whatever you write that print as it is. So a equal to space and then comma, value of a will come. So it will be a equal to space and then I hope this is clear, guys, right? So whatever you write within double quotes come as it is, and then the value of the variable which is written here. Okay. Now the next example, if you say a is equal to 5, b is equal to 7, print a equal to, so within double quote whatever you write that will come as it is here, right? And then value of a with a comma you have written, so 5 is displayed here. Similarly, b within double quotes whatever you have written, b equal to space, this will come, and then value of b is coming here. Okay, so that all comes as it is. Then print sum, so again within double quotes whatever you write it is coming, then a plus b, since this both the values we have put, so it will come as a plus b, which is 12. This is integer data type. Okay, now if I write a is equal to 1, a, b and c, I have assigned all these three values to this three variable, print abc, it will print 1, 2, 3, right, the way I showed you, right? Then j is equal to 9, print j, very tricky. See, j is equal to 9, it's a variable, I have defined j and I put the value 9. Now I print within double quotes I have given j, so will it print the value of this? No, I told you within double quotes whatever you give that will print as it is, it will not consider as a variable, so it will print j only, it will not print the value 9. If you want the value 9, it has to be without this double quotes. In the print statement or in the input statement, whatever you write within this double quotes, okay, that will come as it is. So if you write j also, it's a variable, it will come as j also, it will not display the value of the variable. Clear? Very important and very tricky this one. Clear? Good. Clear? So now all the examples. Now, yeah. See, we can also specify comments in Python. Like sometimes what happen now, when you are writing a very big program or something, you suppose I just want to mention here what is this about, right? So here I'll just or like this statement, what we are doing, we are just summing two numbers, right? So I'll just write with double this slash, or with hash, sorry, it will be hash. So you can write summation of two numbers. So whatever you write with an hash, that is been considered as a comment in Python. Clear? So interpreter, when it is translating your program and it sees this hash here, it understands that this is just a comment, so I have to ignore this line, and it ignores the line. So if I save and I run the module, so it will ask me, see, the program ran fine with no issue because it considers this line as comment. But suppose I give this line without this, now if I run, see what happens. Syntax error it has given me, correct? So if you have to write anything which you want the interpreter to ignore, you have to use hash sign, which is a comment. Clear? So our last topic is the operator. So let's move on to operators quickly, and it's very simple. So let's move on. Now our last topic, operators. So operators, we have already seen a lot of operators. Operators are used in Python for operations, right? Like when we were doing summation of two numbers, we used this addition operator. Then we have this subtraction operator to subtract two numbers. We have this multiplication operator to multiply two numbers. Then we have division operator. Then we have remainder operator and exponent operator. Let's try to quickly see all this. What are the difference and how we can understand this? Okay, in the Python program, we'll try to let's try to do this in the console itself. Okay, in the cell. Now let me just close this. Okay, so let's try to understand here in the command prompt only, in this interactive mode only. Okay, so Addition operator we have seen, like 5 plus 6, you get the answer. Subtraction, you know, 8 minus 3. Then you have multiplication, 6 into 7. So you get the multiplication of two numbers. Division, you know, like 64 divided by 4 maybe. So this is the division. Then what else we had? So this 4 are the simple ones that we saw. Then we have the remainder. Okay. So remainder operator is what? So suppose when I divide 10 by 3, what do I get? 3 point something something, right? This. Okay. But now suppose I want to know the remainder. What I get when I divide 10 by 3. So then we use 10, this percentage sign, and 3. This percentage sign is actually mod we call as, which is the remainder. So here they will give you the remainder. See, when you divide 10 by 3, you get 1 as the remainder. Okay, now any number you can take random. Now this divisible by 9. What is the remainder? It will give you, okay, 6 will be the remainder. Clear? So this sign is being, this percentage sign is used for finding the remainder for two numbers. Okay, and now if you want to find the exponent, like to the power 4, so for that we use the exponent sign. So here if I write 3 star, right, it was 2 stars power 4, 3 to the power 4, that means 3 into 3 into 3 into 3, 4 times 3, right? So that gives you 981. Okay, so that's an exponent, 3 to the power 4. So that we write it here. So I hope now clear with all the operators, very simple. Clear? See, divide operator gives you the quotient, and percentage, this remainder gives you the remainder actually. Okay, now one more thing which we did before also, I showed you this plus operator we can also use to concatenate two strings. Concatenate means to join two strings. If you remember, I gave you an example here, like if I don't use int here, it is considered as string, right? So that time when I wrote num a plus num b, it was concatenating those two strings, just joining two strings. Means here it will be value of a, or maybe suppose I give, let me just change this program, enter your name maybe. Okay, that's my first string I am taking. B may suppose I am saying enter, or maybe here enter your first name. Okay, first name, and here I'll enter your last name. Okay, now here when I write num a plus num b, since these both are string values, so it will just join that two and give me in here. Okay, now let's see, let me just remove all this, let's see how it works. Save. Now let me run. Enter your first name, I write Priyanka. Enter your last name, Agarwal, suppose it. So now see, so here if you see, print A first, then print num B, so it gave Priyanka and Agarwal separately. Then concatenate this two, so it is concatenating this, when it just joining, so it will give me together as Priyanka Agarwal. Now suppose if you want a space in between, how will you do that? Just think, I want a space, num C I want, but before that I want a space in middle of this. So here you can add a space and then plus again. So see what here what they are doing, num A, which is Priyanka, it will add that with a space and then add that with num B. Now let me see how it works. Say Priyanka Agarwal. Now see, it gave me a space. Okay, so basically we use this plus sign for a normal addition also, and for concatenating two string values also. Concatenating means joining two string values also. Clear? So I hope now the operators are very clear. Now we'll quickly see a couple of Python programs. Okay students, now since we have understood the basics of Python, so let's try to write some program on our own. Okay, so we'll see a book program. So program 1 is write a program that takes the name of user. So your input will be the name of the user and then displays a welcome message to the user. Like the welcome message should be like whatever name you have input that, then welcome to the world of Python programming. Okay, let's try to write it on our own. You don't see this, let's try to write on our own. So what you have to do first, okay, so you have enter, let me just remove, you have to enter the name of a person. Okay, so maybe I take a variable name. Okay, maybe person underscore name, okay, is equal to, I have to input that, right? So input, enter your name. Okay, so maybe I'll enter your name. Okay, now I have to display this like this. First the name of the user and then a dash and then welcome to the world of Python. So you see, this is a variable I have to put and then this entire thing should go within my double quote. It should display as it is, correct? Correct. So how should I display this? So I just have to print. So print in bracket. So what I have to print? I have to print first the name, right? So I'll just write name without double quotes because just the name, the variable, then comma. Now I have to put this entire thing within double quotes. So this, right? Then I have to write dash welcome to the world of Python programming. Let's close. Now let's try to save and run this program. So enter your name, it has asked me, right? So I write Priyanka. So see, it has written Priyanka, welcome to the world of Python programming. So how? So it has first the variable it has printed, then I gave a comma. Then within double quotes, whatever you write, it will come as it is on your screen. Correct? So here it showed. Is it clear? Now let's see how the program was written in your book. So book also first they have input the name in a variable name. Here see I have directly printed the variable with this message. But what they are doing, they are concatenating these two things in a new variable called message. So you have a variable this message. Here I am concatenating, means joining this two string. This is a string and this was string. So it's just joining with a plus sign. So name plus whatever I write here, that will join and then print message. So you can do it this way also. Clear? I showed you this way also, right? How we have done this, right? So I can do it this way also, right? Like a message is equal to, or any other variable you can take. M is equal to, maybe I want name first, then plus, then within double quotes you put this enter everything. So it will join together. Okay? Now instead of printing in this way, I can just print M and see it, save it, sorry, just save it and then run. So it behaves the same way only. Priyanka, see, Priyanka, welcome to the world of this. Clear? Now suppose if I want to, just think students, like if I want to display hi Priyanka, welcome to the world of Python. So before this name I want to, like here, before this Priyanka I want to display hi also. Hi Priyanka and then welcome to this. So how will I do this? This thing simple. Simple, I'll just add a hi here with hi. Correct? I give a space. Then I'll put a plus here. So it will join with the name. And then I give this entire thing again. So first it will print this, which is within double quotes whatever be there, then the variable name, because I've added a plus here, then again a plus I've added. So with this variable name it will print whatever is here, right? Now let me just save and see how it works. Priyanka. So see, hi Priyanka, welcome to the world of Python. Did you see that? So in this way you can concatenate your string. So within this double quotes, whatever you write, if you give a space also, see I've given a space, so it comes as a space here. Okay, so whatever you write within this double quotes come as it is, and then you put a variable with a plus in the middle, then it will join this. This variable shouldn't be in double quotes, guys. If you put this in double quotes, it will consider as a normal string. It will not come as a variable. See, if I save and I run it here, now see how it will behave. If I give my name here, see, hi name, it will take it as name, not the variable. It will not consider this as variable. So variable shouldn't come within this double quotes. Remember, very important. Clear? So now let's move on to the second program. So write a program to take name and country from the user. So we'll enter name and country from the user. Two inputs are there. So here see, here enter your name. In the second we are entering our country. Okay, we are storing this in two variables, right? And then display the following message. Welcome, username means welcome, whatever be the name of that person. So see, I can concatenate this way. Line 1 will be welcome plus welcome will be in double quotes because that's a fixed string, and then your variable, the name of the person. Line 2 will be a double quotes your country name, and then is a big, see here it's the same as hi I gave you. See here the variable is coming in the middle. So your country is fixed, so that will come within double quotes. Correct? Can you see that? So here see, your country is fixed, is beautiful country is fixed. Now this country name, this is only your variable, right? So here how will you do? Like the way I've done hi, right? So here your country will come in double quotes because it is fixed. Then a plus sign here, you get a plus sign, right, to concatenate, join that. Then the variable name, the country name where you have taken. Then again a plus sign to join another message which is from here. Correct? And then I am printing this two line here. Is it clear? Simple, not tough at all. If you understand, programming is very, very simple. Clear? Now let's move on to the third program. So write a program to take 3 integers from the user and display this. Very simple this is. So first number 1, see I have taken this as integer, okay? So see how int should come before your input statement. The first number, second number, third number with an integer data type. Then I'll do the sum of this 3 and then print. The sum of the 3 numbers is within double quotes, then comma and then sum. Clear? Remember the syntax, student. The syntax you have to remember. So any program you write, you have to follow correct syntax. Now let's move on to the last program, the fourth one. Let's see what is it all about. Write a program to take length and breadth. So let's write this program. So we'll write a program to take length and breadth of a rectangle from the user and display its area and perimeter. Okay, so here we have 2 inputs from user. One is the length, so let's see length, or maybe length I have taken equal to, so this both should be, length and breadth can be a integer type, it can be a float type also, right? So I can take integer or a float, like it might be in decimal also, so we can take it in float also, okay? So I want a float data type, so float, inside this it will be input, enter length of the rectangle, it was, right? Rectangle. Okay, so I will enter the length of the rectangle and that will get stored in my length. Then I will enter breadth. Breadth is equal to again float input, enter the breadth of the rectangle, okay. So here I have entered the length and breadth done. Now we have to calculate its area and perimeter. So area, I'll take it as A, maybe A is equal to length into breadth, correct? Similarly, perimeter P is equal to 2 into length plus breadth. Okay, so my perimeter will be 2 length plus breadth, correct? Now I have to print this, right? So it will be print. I have to write maybe length, area of the rectangle is, then a comma, remember, huh? So whatever I write in double quotes will come as it is, then comma, I want to print A, the value, right? Similarly, I want the perimeter, this will be P and this will be perimeter. Now let's see if it runs properly or we have an error. So run. So see, it asks me enter the length of the rectangle. You can enter in a float or an integer. Maybe I write 4. The breadth I give 3. So see, it gave me the area of the rectangle is 12 and the perimeter of the rectangle is 14. So is it clear now? Now see, I told you Python is case sensitive. So if I have taken capital A here, if I write small a here, see, it will give me an error. Let me run and show it to you. See, here I gave whatever. See, it gave me an error because it cannot. Did you mean capital A? Because they are not able to recognize A. Okay, so Python is case sensitive. Okay, so if you have taken a variable name in capital, it has to be capital. Like here, it is length all in small. So if you give capital L here, it will not recognize. Okay, Python is case sensitive. Clear? I hope now your this is very clear. No doubts, right? Can we see one program from this? See here, consider the given piece of code and answer the following question. How many variables have been used in the code? Can you see and tell me how many variables are there? So one is your name, which is a string type, right? Another is n, which is your integer type data type, and another is your r variable, which is again an integer type. So there are 3 variables that we have used here, right? Which variables refer to value of type string? So here, as I told you, name refers string. When in input statement you don't specify any data type, it is considered as string. Now, if the user enters a name as Rishi, so your name will be Rishi, number of saplings per row as 10, so this n will be 10, and the number of rows as 30, here your r will be 30, okay. What will be the output of the code? So output will be how? Rishi, you have to plant 300 saplings. That will be the output, correct? Clear? It's very simple. Now you write a program to accept length in meters and then convert into centimeters. So you have to accept first, your input will be length in meters. Whatever they have given should be in, you assume that to be in meters. Okay, so your statement will be enter. So here what will be your enter length in input, enter length in meters, correct? Enter length in meters. I'll remove all this. I have to convert this length in centimeters and then have to out. So this in meters, so my a maybe variable that should be length into 100, correct? Then your output will be length in centimeters is a. Simple program. I'll just input length. I'll ask user to enter length in meters. They'll enter. I'll just multiply with 100 and then print it in here, right? And print and all, see, in double quotes, whatever you write, it comes as it is. So if I save, I run this. So it asks me in meters. Maybe I'll give 34 meters. So length in centimeters is this. Clear? And see this this very interesting thing. See here, I have not specified any data type, but it has taken it as float only. Why? Because length was float and I am doing some calculation based on that, so that A is also turned into float and it gave me this value. Clear? Now suppose if I keep it as integer here, now let me save and show you. See, it will consider A as integer only. 34. See, A will come as integer. Got it? So I hope this chapter is clear. All the best. Thank you.